Good evening and welcome once again to Views and Expectations. I'm your host, Dr. Bayne, coming to you live from the studios of RHR TV1 here in South Florida. This evening we are going to be addressing some issues pertaining to immigration, and it's a program that I've really been looking forward to doing, and I am so glad that this evening I have in the studio with me attorney Caroly Pedersen. She's an immigration attorney with 23 years of experience, someone who knows what she's talking about, deals with specializing, if I could say so, a lot of experience in federal immigration law. She's a writer and a lecturer. She writes columns in newspapers and magazines, and so this is information that is coming to you tonight that has been shared, I am sure, with many thousands of people, and so you're now added to the list of those that will be informed, because you know that the show Views and Expectations is a program that is designed to inform you, to educate you in different areas of your life, give you information that would make your life easier and allow you to make informed decisions that would change the outcomes of the decisions that you make.
Wonderful. I'd like to follow up on what you were saying about education.
Absolutely.
And about knowledge, because I can tell you that the most important thing for me is that immigrants become informed. You don't have to be experts in immigration, but you need to be informed. You need to have an understanding of the basic concepts of what it is that you believe that you're applying for, that you're qualifying for, so that you can empower yourself. And I know that's what you're all about, is empowering.
Absolutely.
Empowering.
That's right. Empowering individuals, empowering the community. Hello?
Hello, good evening.
Yes, go ahead, you're on here. Don't listen to your computer at this time. Just talk to the phone. Yes.
I'm not turn it off. I would like to know, is there anything on the desk for a change of age as to when a U.S.-born child can file for a non-status parent?
Okay. Right now, the law is that children must be age 21 in order to sponsor their parents. Now, if their parents are in the United States and their I-94 has expired, they're forgiven for that. There's no problem whatsoever. The parents could be here for 20 years with an expired I-94 card. And once the child turns 21, the application is filed in Florida. In 3 months, the parents have their green cards. If the parents entered the country without inspection, that's the legal term, without inspection. That means without an I-94 card. Even when the child turns age 21, unfortunately under current law, the parents cannot obtain residency under the current time. Does that cover the area that you're...
Yeah, that answered my question. I already knew that the child had to be 21. I was wondering if there was anything to change that age.
No, honey. In fact, I don't even believe there's anything pending about that right now.
Okay, that was just a question.
Okay, well, that was a great question.
Seems to make you happy. Thank you for calling.
Thank you.
If, maybe what we can do is to share a bit about the various out-of-status situations.
Yes, very important. Okay, so just like the caller was asking about...
And it was, how did it end up out of status?
Okay.
The different ways in which you can end up out of status, whether it was student, they came on the inspection, the I-94, they're on the TN visas, the different type of visas, and how they end up out of status.
So immigration law makes a distinction between foreign nationals who enter the country legally, and that means with inspection. That means you're going through a border, an immigration officer is stamping something, and you're coming in formally, and they give you a little card called an I-94 card. Now, that's a legal entry later on, depending on whether you change to another visa status or you just stay in the United States and let the I-94 expire, you can lose immigration status by not maintaining your legal visa status here. Now, the other situation is where immigrants come with somebody else's identity. That's one. So essentially, they have entered the country without inspection because they're coming in as someone else.
You're not who you say you are.
That's exactly it.
Okay.
So you have not been inspected properly. The other case is people will come like crewmen on a ship. They'll jump ship, so they won't be inspected. People will come through Mexico on a donkey or very risky ways. And so you have a very large population of immigrants in the United States who have come in various ways. Some of them have been inspected, some have not. And the funny thing is that immigration law does not make a distinction between the illegal status of any of those immigrants. So that if you came through the desert on a donkey and weren't inspected at all, or if you came through Fort Lauderdale Airport and you were inspected and you got an I-94 card but it's expired, for both of those situations, immigration recognizes you as having illegal status. Now, typically you'll hear in the news that they will say immigrants that are undocumented. That usually means someone that has not been inspected, that's entered the country without inspection. But as you were saying, how are the ways to drop out of status? There's so many ways, it's almost impossible to count them, but I'll say that the most typical ways, okay? One of the most typical ways is someone will come to visit family here. Let's say an adult daughter, and her mommy is in the United States, her mom's a U.S. citizen, she comes to visit mom, and mom says, hey, let me file an immigration petition for you so you can immigrate. And the daughter says, great! And so mom files it with immigration, and they think the filing of that will allow the daughter to stay. But
beyond the duration, beyond duration.
Part, exactly. Because when you enter the country with inspection, normally they'll give you 6 months. And you have to either change to another visa or extend your visa while you're in the United States in order to stay in legal status, or you have to leave before the expiration date. So in these cases, many people, so many people, believe that the filing of a family petition actually allows their family member to stay in the country. So that's one of the most typical ways that people let their I-94 expiring out of innocence. They don't know, and by the time they find out, they're out of status, and there's no way to repair that.
Right, and that's a typical situation in which we say that ignorance is no excuse. Ignorance of the law is no excuse, unfortunately.
Yes, under immigration regulations. So another way is you have someone who comes on a student visa.
Right.
They maybe cannot afford to pay their tuition fees. They drop out of school through no fault of their own. Or they graduate school and they've made a life here. They try to get a job to be sponsored for some kind of a work visa, and they're not able to. In those cases, their I-94 expires, they drop out of status. Again, they're in illegal status, they're in a bad situation.
And it is my understanding that students, while they're here on an I-20, can actually work on campus.
Yes.
But cannot work, so anything outside of campus would be unauthorized employment.
Yes. There are regulations that allow students to work on campus after a year. And then once a student graduates with either an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, or a master's, they can get 1 full year worth of free work called optional practical training, OPT. So essentially they get a work permit that allows them to work in the United States for a year.
So which means an ideal situation or typical situation would be somebody, let's say, studying law, and then there's a firm with which they might do an internship that has agreed. So it has to be something where the employment is guaranteed, not for them to now go on the labor market looking for work. Is there
well, generally what it is when someone is getting near to graduation, about 3 months before graduation, they apply for their work permit. And during that time, they find an employer who is in their field. So if you're in business administration, you could do just about anything.
Right.
If you're in physical therapy, you would find a physical therapy unit. And in those cases, they are employed for a year to learn their skills in the field that they've just had an education in.
Right, so they're able to do, that would be the equivalent of a practicum.
Exactly.
In a sense, a post-graduation
That's why they call it
practicum.
optional
Oh.
practical training.
There you go.
And the typical way that many immigrants become residents here is they do come on student visas, they do their OPT, optional practical training, and then their employer sponsors them for an H-1B work visa, and then later sponsors them for a green card. So it's just, it's a long process, but that's typically the way that it happens.
It happens.
For employment based.
Right. But we have to understand also that your H-1B can end up out of status. You can end up out of status as well.
That's
so
another way. Yes, another way is someone, just like you're saying, if someone is hired by a U.S. company, they do everything they're supposed to do. They get a legal H-1B work visa, but maybe they're fired, maybe they're laid off, maybe the employer takes advantage of them and doesn't pay them the wage they're supposed to, or abuses them. It happens many times. And in those situations, when the employee loses their job for any reason, they become in illegal status through no fault of their own. And so that's another typical way.